Hello, everybody. Welcome to this live lounge event for accommodation at the University of Lincoln. My name is Emily and I'm going to be hosting this event for roughly the next hour. We've got loads of people who are going to be joining us, jumping in from different places across campus. So feel free to filter in as many questions as you've got, and we will try and get through as many as we can and give you the information that we can. So here I'm joined by Harriet from Accommodation Services. And Harriet, do you want to just give us a little intro to what you do here at the University of Lincoln?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Emily, and a big warm welcome to everyone who is joining us here for this live. So my name is Harriet. I work in Accommodation Services, and what I thought I would probably do is start by giving you a bit of an introduction to accommodation at Lincoln. So if you have been and visited us before, you will hopefully know that we are really lucky with our accommodation offering. We have 6 halls of residence which are managed by the university, and they are either located on campus or a really short walk away. You can live with us throughout all years of study, and as a first year student, you are guaranteed an offer of a room if you apply before September 1st.
Fabulous stuff. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about the different kinds of accommodation at Lincoln that we have to offer?
Absolutely. So a traditional apartment, you can expect to be sharing between 6 and 12 students. We do have some smaller apartments and we do also have some larger apartments. But if you think about 6 to 12, that is about average. You will have your own private bedroom with a 3/4 bed, a study area, wardrobe and storage, and then also an ensuite room. The only exception to this is Lincoln Courts, which is a single bed with the choice of a bathroom or a shared bathroom or your own personal ensuite. You will then share a communal kitchen living area, and depending on how many students you are sharing with, that space will get bigger with more facilities provided.
Fabulous. And one of the questions that I know from when I was applying for accommodation last year is, when can students book from?
Yes, the big question. So our accommodation actually opened in December last year. So you can book your room in university managed accommodation as soon as you've made the university your firm or insurance choice on UCAS. If you've already updated UCAS, you probably want to wait around 48 hours until you put in your application, and you'll receive an email from Accommodation Services with a link to the booking portal where you can do that.
Fabulous stuff. So like I said, everybody who's watching on YouTube, you can put in questions in the comments and we will be here answering as many as we can over the next hour. We'll also be going live to some apartments, hopefully if the Wi-Fi holds up, and you should be able to see some that we've got to offer. But whilst we're waiting for those comments to go through, we've got some questions that people often ask that we're going to try our best to answer as many as we can. So when and how is the accommodation allocated to people once they've applied?
Okay, so great question. Now, students will receive confirmation of what accommodation they have secured, usually around 5 to 10 days after they've put in their application. However, they won't find out which apartment and room they've been allocated until after A-level results day. And this is because we like to give time to make sure that everyone who would like a room in our accommodation has a chance to put their application in, and then we can really clearly see how many first years, returners and postgraduates we have. As a first year student, you will live with other first years, and then second and third years are mixed, and depending on the site, postgraduates will be in a separate block or mixed with returners.
Fabulous stuff. We've got some questions coming in now. So Joe Outdoors has said that he has been given a place at St. Mark's and was just interested to find out when we will receive room allocations, so specific numbers, so that he can start chatting with people in his apartment.
Yeah, so that is the information which will be sent out after results day. But what you can do now is join our UniBuddy community. So this is a fantastic thing that the university has launched this year, where students can join either group chats for the accommodation, societies, chats for your course, and you can start meeting other students with similar interests and also booked into the same accommodation. And there is a link on screen now for you to do that. It is also on the main university website if you wanted to go over there after this live.
Fabulous stuff. There's a really good question here from Jennifer, which is about rooms being individually locked. And if so, do you have individual keys? How are they given out? All that kind of stuff.
Yes, so you will receive a key for your accommodation, which will open your bedroom, your apartment, so your main corridor, and the entrance door to your block. Depending on the site, you may also be in a bit of a gated community, so that will also open the gate. Only your card will open all of those doors. Only people in your apartment will be able to open the main apartment door, and only people in that block will be able to open the main block door. So everyone will have their own key card. It is a very secure system, supported by CCTV as well. But yes, you will only be able to get into your room and apartment.
Fabulous stuff. There's a couple of questions here about the different lengths of tenancy. Do you have any information about that, Harriet?
Yeah, so the standard accommodation agreement, so contract agreement, is 46 weeks. The only exception is Signet Wharf, which is 40 weeks. So Signet Wharf is our first year only accommodation, and the 40 weeks is a really nice period to kind of help settle you into university life. It covers all of the teaching time and the time that you need to be here for. The standard 46 weeks is a little bit longer, so it gives you some time either side of teaching, and this usually covers any exam resits and placement periods as well. So in your first year of study, it doesn't really matter whether you end up in a 40 or a 46, but depending on which site you decide to book will depend on which one is automatically sort of associated with that.
Fabulous stuff. Imogen has a really good question here. So they have said that I have confirmed their unconditional offer, but they are joining in 2024 after a gap year. And they were just wondering how they would apply for accommodation next year.
Yeah, so first of all, a big congratulations for the unconditional offer. That's brilliant. And so our accommodation is only open for the academic year which we're approaching. This means that you will be able to apply for your 2024, the year's confused me then, 2024 accommodation in November/December this year. So ignore it for now and then get back in at the end of this year for the next year's applications.
Fabulous. There's a question here about bike storage outside Lincoln Courts. And do you have any information about the storage outside of the accommodations?
Yes, so all of our accommodations have bike storage. Some of the sites, this is access to your key card, and other sites, it's more of a traditional storage where you just take your own lock. But all of them, including Lincoln Courts, do have storage.
Fabulous. Olivia here has said, what are some of the essentials that we need to take? I know for this one, I can help out a little bit. If you go on to Student Life, which is the University of Lincoln's student kind of page, we've got YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, pretty much every social. Every year we have students that compile lists of really good essential things, some things that you kind of miss, some things that you don't really think about. And that's a really good resource because it's made by students. So it's one that gets changed and added to every year. So that's a really good place to start. But yeah, there's loads of great forums and just speaking to people is a really good way to find out what you need and what you don't need, more importantly, because I know that I definitely overpacked in my first year. So yeah. Fabulous. Do you have to use university halls for your first year of undergraduate, or can you stay in private halls?
No, so it is entirely up to you where you choose to stay whilst you're living in Lincoln. We only represent university managed accommodation, but I always encourage students to do their own research, have a look at what's available, and then book the accommodation which is best for you.
Fabulous. Caitlin here has asked, how does this all work if we have an unconditional offer?
So if you have an unconditional offer, it's exactly the same as if you had a conditional offer. So as long as you've made the university your firm choice on UCAS, you'll be able to book your accommodation, aim for about 5 to 10 days for the team to get back to you. We don't take a deposit or a down payment. So it just means that you've got peace of mind that you know that you're definitely coming to Lincoln in September.
Fabulous. There's a question here that says, are any of the accommodation types, are all of the accommodation types self-catering? Sorry.
Yes, so all of our accommodation is self-catered. However, we do have a huge amount of food outlets on campus, and so lots of different places that you can go if you did fancy a meal out.
Fabulous. And the campus food is really good. I can definitely vouch for that. Oscar here says, where can we find all the prices for the accommodations?
Yeah, so all the prices for accommodation are listed on the main university website. If you go under the accommodation heading, you will be able to see the prices for each hall of residence and also a breakdown of what that looks like in terms of termly, monthly and annual payments.
Fabulous. Ella's got a really good question here. Can I still apply for accommodation if Lincoln is my insurance choice?
Yeah, so great question. You can still put your application in for your accommodation, and our team will hold that information until results day. If the university then became your firm choice on results day, we would pick back up the application and allocate you the best we can depending on our availability. So we would really encourage you to put an application in if you are an insurance offer, especially if you think that there may be a chance that you will end up coming to Lincoln, just because you're on our radar then and it will make things a lot easier for you on clearing.
Fabulous. There's a question here that says, my course is 45 weeks long and my accommodation choice offers 46. Does that mean I can stay over the holidays?
Yeah, so across all of our accommodations, the room is yours for your full contract length. So you will move in middle sort of September time. That room is yours until the end of your contract. You don't have to leave or move out at any point during that.
Fabulous. There's another really good question here about how car parking works in accommodation. Is there off-site parking or is parking included in the accommodations?
Okay, great. Another great question. So we only have permit parking available for students at Valentine Court. Now, Valentine Court is now fully occupied with a waiting list for September. So if you haven't already booked it, just an important one to note that it is unfortunately no longer available. In terms of university-wide, we are quite limited on parking. So most of our accommodations have short stay spaces, which can be used for half an hour during reception opening times, where you would need to come and register the car registration for a set period. Outside of that, if you were maybe looking to commute or you wanted to bring a car for several weeks or a weekend, we would advise you to have a look at private car parking in the city, which there is plenty of. It's just not managed by the university.
Fabulous. Another really good question is, can you choose to have single-gendered accommodation?
Yes, so that's a really important thing that we make sure that we offer you. So on the booking portal, when you put in your accommodation application, there is a box where you can tick if you would like a single gender apartment.
Fabulous. So I think we are all ready to move on to our first tour, which will be Lincoln Courts. So we're going to say goodbye to Harriet momentarily, and we're going to go over to join Sophie in Lincoln Courts, and we're going to show you one of our accommodation options here at the University of Lincoln. So hello, Sophie.
Hi, so big warm welcome to everyone who has joined in today. So as Emily mentioned, my name's Sophie and I'm going to be showing you Lincoln Courts today. So Lincoln Courts is made up of 17 blocks and they're split into Lincoln Courts and Lincoln Courts Value. And there's also the option of en-suites or non-en-suites, as in shared bathrooms, and they start from £95 per week. So the apartment we're in is a 6-bedroom apartment, and it consists of a social area, a kitchen area, and a dining area as well. There is also a cleaning cupboard that has all your essentials, your mop and bucket, dustpan and brush, iron and ironing board. Now, we don't provide actual cleaning products, but as Emily and Harriet mentioned earlier, there's loads of good forums out there for you to actually have a look at, see what we do provide and what you need to bring. We do have our own, which is on our accommodation website, which should be listed below. So as I mentioned, obviously this is our kitchen and it's big enough for the 6 students that reside here. So you have a microwave and a kettle included. There's no toaster or TV, but you are welcome to bring your own if you would like. We also have fridge freezers as well. And as I mentioned, nice kitchen space, social area, and your dining area as well. So I'm going to go towards the bedrooms now. So this is a typical bedroom within Lincoln Courts. The beds are single beds, but there's loads of nice flooring. There's also a nice overhead light, storage space, study area, chairs, wardrobe, and overhead storage as well. Now this is an ensuite, so there's also your toilet, your basin, and your shower, and the shower curtain is included as well. Wonderful. So my colleague Kai is just going to show you another example that we have of a bedroom in Lincoln Courts. In the meantime, guys, if you do have any questions about courts, please put them in the chat. Fantastic. Brilliant.
Wonderful. So we have got a couple of questions about courts, Sophie, if you are ready for a couple of questions.
Fantastic, yes.
So the first one is, how much is a ensuite room in Lincoln Courts?
So like I mentioned earlier, Lincoln Courts is split into courts and courts value. Ensuites and courts values start from £105 per week, and Lincoln Courts ensuite is £115 per week.
Fabulous. How do I know which court I'm booking for?
So on the booking portal that Harriet mentioned earlier, Lincoln Courts will be split into those 4 options: Lincoln Courts ensuite, Lincoln Courts non-ensuite, and then Lincoln Courts value ensuite, Lincoln Courts value non-ensuite. So very nice and clearly laid out for you.
Fabulous. There's a question here that says, are we allowed TVs in Lincoln Courts, as in the bedrooms?
Yes, so you are allowed, you're welcome to bring your own TV. We just don't have TV licenses. So if you are wanting to bring one, make sure you do sort out your TV license.
Fabulous. What is the fridge situation like in Lincoln Courts? How big are the fridge freezers?
So this one, like I say, is a 6-bed. So there is 2 fridge freezers. Obviously, there's enough space for 6 students, but loads of students, they basically figure it out amongst themselves when they arrive. Some students have half a shelf each. It's completely up to the actual apartment themselves.
Yeah, I remember in my first year, I was in Signet Wharf and we all had a drawer each. So yeah, it's fairly easy to sort out. There's a question here that says, are there any religious facilities nearby or close to Lincoln Courts?
So there is a chaplaincy on site. Obviously, there's loads of different avenues they can explore. We have our own Res Life Lounge where students can go and inquire about more of those sorts of avenues.
Fabulous. There's another question here that says, do you have to pay for internet or is that covered in your fees?
All internet and utility bills are included in your fees.
Fabulous. There's a question here that says, roughly when will we find out which room or floor we'll have?
So you do find that information out after results day. You'll have an induction that you will need to fill out. It will also explain which court, which apartment, and which room you're in, and also your arrival information as well.
Fabulous. There's a question here that says, what other appliances are available in the rooms?
In the rooms themselves?
Yes.
So we can hop back and have a look. So as I mentioned, obviously this is Lincoln Courts. It does come with a standing chair. I call it a swirly chair. I think the main phrase is an ops chair, and obviously storage space as well. But as I mentioned earlier, all the list of what's actually included in the bedrooms is available on the accommodation website.
Fabulous. And I think the most important question is, are there still rooms left for students to book for next year?
Yes, there's still rooms available. Last update I had, we're about 50% full at Lincoln Courts.
Fabulous stuff. So obviously everyone, you can keep piling your questions in. We will be keeping on answering them as best as we can. So whether they are specific to Lincoln Court or specific to another accommodation or just general accommodation questions, just keep them coming in, and we will do our best to answer them. And as if by magic, what is the difference between a regular and a value at Lincoln Courts?
Essentially, value was the first accommodation built. Just regular Lincoln Courts came a little bit afterwards. They decided to change the design just a tiny bit and make the communal area a tiny bit bigger, but that is the main difference.
Fabulous. There's a question here that says, are there any studio rooms available in Lincoln Courts?
There are no studio rooms available in Lincoln Courts, just ensuite and non-ensuite and value and courts, as I mentioned earlier.
Fabulous. There's a question here that says, do we need to get all of our appliances PAT tested that we bring with us?
We do encourage PAT testing, but if the appliance is brand new, it is normally okay, but I would inquire you to send an email, just double checking.
Fabulous. There's a question here that says, what is the deadline to book accommodation?
Oh, you tested my knowledge there, Emily. So if you do book accommodation before September 1st, you are guaranteed a room. It might not be your first choice, but if you book before September 1st for first year undergrads, you are guaranteed a room.
Fabulous. Oh, there's a really good question here. What are the laundry facilities like for Lincoln Courts?
So about in the middle of Lincoln Courts, I'd say, there is a building, I can't think of the word then, a building called One Campus Way, and that's where our laundry facility is held. So it's a third party called Circuit Laundry. You can download the app, you can have a top-up card, and you just pop money on it and you can use the washing and drying facilities. We do find some students decide to go together and do one big load, or you can do your own separately. It's completely up to you guys.
Fabulous. Someone here has said, are we allowed to bring extension cables into the rooms and things like that?
Yes, you can have an extension cable, but again, obviously no extension cables into extension cables or anything like that. And if possible, PAT tested.
Yeah. Someone said, are we allowed to bring an air fryer to the kitchen?
That is something you would need to email in about. The last update I had is we don't allow air fryers, but it's always worth dropping an email and inquiring before you arrive.
Fabulous. Someone said here, do all the rooms come with Wi-Fi?
Yes, so we do have Wi-Fi across all of our accommodations.
Fabulous. Jennifer here has asked, do the doors all have locks with them, as in the bedroom doors?
Yes, so Lincoln Courts is a little bit different than our other accommodations in the fact that we are still on physical keys. So you have one physical key to lock your bedroom door, and it also works on your apartment door, but that key will not open anyone else's bedroom door.
Fabulous. Someone here has said, is there an Ethernet port in the bedrooms?
That is one you would have to inquire about. I am not an internet tech savvy person, I am afraid. So that is someone I'm not too sure on.
Yeah, no worries at all. Someone here said, can you bring heavier items such as a desktop or a monitor?
Yes, by all means. Yeah, we encourage obviously desktops, monitors, obviously for all that studying.
Fabulous. There's another good question here that says, are you allowed to have people stay over?
Yes, so we don't we don't ask for them to sign in or anything like that. All we ask is do be mindful of your other flatmates, and please do remember it is single occupancy. If they want to stay a night, completely fine, but not a week or a month or anything. They are still single occupancy rooms.
Fabulous. And someone else here has said, what is the heating like in Lincoln Courts?
So every bedroom does have a radiator. It's actually right behind me here. So they're all functioning, and we do have a 24/7 maintenance team. So you wake up and you find your radiator's not working, you can get in touch with our maintenance team and they will find out what's happened.
Fabulous. Let me just see if there's any more questions coming through. Oh, how far do the windows open? Are they only able to open a little bit, or do they open the whole way?
I can actually show you since I'm right here. So this is how far they open. It is purely for safety reasons, but there is a nice breeze coming through right now.
Fabulous. There's one other good question here that says, what is the security like for Lincoln Courts?
So I believe Harriet mentioned it earlier. We do have 24/7 security. Obviously, Lincoln Courts is in the heart of campus, so security are just about a 5-minute walk away to the Minerva building, but you can contact them 24/7 via phone as well.
Fabulous. So I think, fingers crossed that the Wi-Fi works, I think we will be heading over to St. Mark's now. So we are going to part ways with Sophie and Kai, but thank you so much for showing us around Lincoln Courts. You've had loads of great information for us. So we are going to show you a different accommodation now. So we're going to go over to St. Mark's, and we're going to join Vicky, who's going to show us around St. Mark's accommodation.
Hello, my name is Vicky and I'm in our St. Mark's show flat. So I'm going to give you a little walk through, fingers crossed, as long as the Wi-Fi stays nice up and running. So like I said, I'm in St. Mark's. It is our newest accommodation and it has 10 blocks and all the rooms are self-catered, and it is located just across the road, a 2 to 3 minute walk away from most of the university main buildings. But we'll get into the fun part of having a little tour around the accommodation. So I'm stood in the living room, and as you can see, you get a large sofa area. This is a 12-bedroom flat, so you get a lot of space for you and all your flatmates to socialise. And then in this accommodation, we do provide some TVs, and in some of them we do. And if we provide the TV in the communal lounge, then we will provide your TV licence. However, like Sophie and Harriet have both said, if you're planning to bring your own TV for your bedroom for personal use, then you would need to provide your own TV licence. So as you can see, it's quite a large communal space at St. Mark's, and this is quite similar to some of our other accommodations, 179, Viking House, all those kind of ones. You get a large dining room table, which is great for studying, dinner parties, whatever you kind of want. I always kind of get a little bit jealous and think it would be really great for pizza parties. So an idea if any of you are coming to stay in St. Mark's in September. Now through to the kitchen. So again, like Sophie said, most of our flats are catered for the amount of people in the flat. So we get very similar things across the accommodation. So again, you have your cleaning cupboard with your mops, your mop buckets, hoover, or vacuum, whatever you prefer to call it, dustpan and brush. We provide all of that for you. And then you also get your fridge freezers. As we said, there's enough per student. So this is a 12-bedroom flat, so enough to have a shelf or a drawer each, or more or less, depending on the flat size. We also provide the microwaves, the kettles, the bins, both rubbish and recycling, all provided for you. And you can find out exactly what to bring on the website or on any forum kind of from previous students. Moving in can be quite a daunting experience, and looking at some of this, some of you might be getting excited if you're coming to university, might be coming very real and a bit anxious for others, but do not worry, there is plenty of support out there, whether it's beforehand, you can speak to people on UniBuddy and get to know the university before you arrive, up until when you arrive at the university. You have the accommodation team, you have the wider departments such as student support, student wellbeing, your course, your lecturers, and then we also are very lucky to have an out-of-hours Res Life team who are here to be kind of like your big brothers and sisters and help adjust to your new home away from home. So now we're going to try and show you the bedrooms. Fingers crossed the Wi-Fi will let you, and if not, we'll see what happens. So this is an example of a bedroom at the university, and this is very similar to bedrooms across a majority of our accommodations. So you get a 3/4 bed with the pinboard above, and then you also get some around the bed storage. So you've got some lovely shelves above the bed, and you've also got some under bed storage. Opposite, you have got a desk and some drawers, perfect for your study. And if you do want to bring monitors or TVs, you do have the space. And then you've got some overhead for your books, trinkets, photos from home. You also get a small cubby at St Mark's above the wardrobe, and then the wardrobe with a shelf and the rail. And then, as all the accommodation at St Mark's is en suite, this is an example of the bathroom. So you can see your shower, your sink basin, and your toilets. You do also get a full length mirror with a plug socket, which is great if you need to straighten, blow dry your hair, anything like that, you can get it all. So Lucy is just going to give you a quick tour of the other accommodation bedroom. So just the same, but just on the different side. So depending which room you're allocated, your room might be the flipped mirror of it, if that makes sense of what you're seeing now. But yeah, you see all the underbed storage now, plenty of space for suitcases or sports equipment that you may not want out all of the time. And again, I, like Sophie, say you do get the lovely spinny chair. So if you do have any questions about St Mark's or any of our other accommodations, please do send them in. Now is a great time to ask any questions that you may have prior to arrival. So, yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And thank you to the Wi-Fi gods for keeping us connected. So we have got a couple of questions coming through. So where is St Mark's located and how is best to get to campus?
Oh, very good question. So it is just across the main road from the campus. So I don't know if you've been to open days before, but there is a crossing outside the Isaac Newton building. So you just come across the road. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes and you can, not advisory, but you can pretty much roll out of bed and make it to your lectures in time. So it's pretty close.
Fabulous. Penny has asked, how much is it a week to live in St Mark's?
St Mark's is £170 per week.
Fabulous. Is there a minimum and maximum amount of flatmates per the accommodation?
Yes, so it would vary per site and it all varies across the board. So at St Mark's, it varies from 6 is the smallest, with the average kind of being 10 to 12. But at other sites, it can start from as small as 4 and go all the way up to 23. The bigger apartments are at Viking House, not just standard across the board. So please do not worry if you're after a smaller accommodation. There is a whole wide spectrum across the accommodation portfolio.
Fabulous. There is a question here that is, are there any curtains in the bedroom or do you have to bring your own blinds or curtains?
So most of the accommodations have their own blinds in them. I believe Quartz has curtains still. So it would depend which accommodation you are, but you should have either privacy blind, blackout blinds, or curtains in your bedroom when you arrive.
Fabulous. Someone has asked, what is the laundry system in St Mark's like?
Very, very similar to Quartz and across the whole of the university accommodation. It's all run through Circuit Laundry. So you kind of can either top up via the app or the card, and you can just go in and do a wash or a dry whenever you like. At the moment, prices are around £280 per wash and £180 per dry. This might change by September, so please don't take my word on it. But yeah, you can just kind of go in whenever you like and do a lovely normal laundry cycle.
Fabulous. And like I said to Sophie, kind of the most important question is, are there still rooms available to book for next year?
Yes, there's still rooms available to book. Last time I looked, I believe St Mark's was 40% sold for September. So plenty of rooms for people to book at the moment.
Fabulous. Someone has asked, I have a place at Valentine Court and I was wondering about parking there. I'm studying paramedic science and I need my car for placement. So do you know anything about the parking at Valentine Court?
Great question. So the applications have not opened yet, so do not panic. The applications for car parking will open a week or so after results day and be sent to all students who will be living at Valentine Court. And then you just need to put in an application and then you'll be sent an offer if successful. There is around 70 spaces at Valentine, so there is typically more applications than there are spaces, but priority does go to paramedic, science and nursing students or people who require it for placements, but there is typically enough to go around.
Fabulous. So we've kind of already answered this, but someone has said, is there any parking at St. Mark's?
So there's no student car parking permits, but there is a visitor permit. So if your parents or your friends want to come visit, you can either come and park in our visitor car park for 1 hour, or there is a pay and display car park next door, just the other side of the site, which you can pay obviously hourly to have visitors. So nice safe space close by to put the car, but sadly no student permits.
Fabulous. Caitlin has asked, how likely is it that someone with Lincoln as an insurance can obtain St. Mark's as their accommodation?
Oh, that is a very good question. And it's very hard to say because it would all depend on results day. But I would say there is a chance. There is always a chance. But I would not be able to say how high of a chance. But with it only being 40% sold at the moment, I would say there is quite a high chance at the moment.
Fabulous. So we are now going to head back to Harriet to go through some more questions, but thank you so much, Vicky, and thank you for the Wi-Fi for holding up, and like I said, everyone, you can keep putting your questions in the comments and we are going to try and answer as many as we can in the next section, but we're going to part ways with Vicky and the team over at St. Mark's. Fabulous. So Harriet is going to be joining me again. So we've got loads of really good questions coming through that we are going to try and answer as best as we can. So there's one here from Joe that says, is there a gym on campus?
Yeah, so first great question, Joe. There is a gym on campus. So this is in our sports centre. It's located just down the main campus way, so kind of central campus.
Fabulous. So there's another one here about how similar the different kinds of accommodations are. So someone here has said Viking House and St. Mark's. What are the similarities there?
Okay, really great question. So Viking House is a converted building. So it's several different buildings that were already there that have been converted into student accommodation. So the actual layout of your bedroom is very, very similar, if not identical, to what you would see in St. Mark's. It's just the finishes that are different. I particularly like the bathrooms because they are lovely grey marble. But the actual rooms do vary in terms of the apartments and the communal spaces. So with it being a converted building, there are different size rooms that you can book. So if having a bit more space is a big priority to you, then Viking House is definitely a great option. And there are also some much bigger apartments. So with that, there are some really big living areas. And then there are also some kind of standard smaller apartments as well.
Fabulous. Someone's asked a really good question here about is the allocation of rooms influenced by whether we put Lincoln as our insurance or our firm choice?
Okay, another great question. So in theory, no, because it's not a case that if you were a firm choice, you would have a better priority on where you were allocated. It doesn't work like that. But depending on when we start our allocation process, if you're an insurance offer, your firm place in that accommodation will not come through until after clearing. And by that point, our team may have already started allocating some of the bigger sites. So it kind of comes down to where we are in the cycle and which accommodation you've booked as to whether or not we've already begun that or not.
Fabulous. Another really good question here is how do we go about collecting parcels or ordering food? This one is specifically for Valentine Court, but I think it would be important to share about all of the accommodation options.
Yeah, for sure. And the process is similar. Well, it's the same across all of them. Now, we tend to find that for a lot of students, if they are ordering hot food, takeaways, or grocery orders, they will order it to their accommodation block. So the blocks all have some sort of buzzer system on the door. So you would normally tell the driver to come to block B and call apartment 2 on arrival, or call your mobile. If it was post and parcel, that would come to our main reception. And depending on which site you live at, you will either have a dedicated reception or a shared reception, which is close by. All of them are very, very close. That reception will be open either 5 or 6 days a week. So any letters or any posts that's small enough that you can go through a mailbox will be posted into your post box, and they are apartment shared. And then any bigger parcels, or parcels which are identified as needing a signature or tracked, will go to our reception team, and you'll be able to collect that during opening hours, which is 9 till 5/5:30, depending on the day, and you'll just need to bring ID to do so.
Fabulous. Laura has asked, when do you find out who you'll be living in your accommodation with?
Okay, so this information will be sent out after results day. So you'll get confirmation on which apartment you've got. And then it's kind of look as to whether or not you manage to find the other students that are also living in the same apartment as you. The best way to start meeting students who have booked the same accommodation is to join the Uni Buddy community. And then after results day, you'll be able to join our Res Life Facebook groups. So these groups are private pages where you can get accepted to join the group once your room and everything's confirmed, and there you might find that people are sharing which apartments they've got.
Fabulous. So someone here has said, are the rooms allocated randomly, or are they done according to who is studying which course?
Okay, so generally speaking, we would look to split an apartment 50-50 gender, and we will mix you with your courses. So we like to do it so that you have all your course friends, but you also have an opportunity to meet students studying different courses. It's only if you have put down on your application that you need a certain type of room or a certain allocation for whatever reason, or you would like to be in single gender apartment, that you will have a more catered for allocation.
Fabulous. And then there's a question here that says, what are the rules regarding visitors in the accommodations?
Okay, so as Sophie kind of touched on earlier, you are allowed to have guests staying over, but the accommodation is single occupancy. So you're not allowed to have someone staying over, say, 3-4 nights a week, because that's starting to get close to dual occupancy. But the occasional guest is fine. They just need to be over the age of 18, because our accommodation is over 18s only.
Fabulous. And I know we mentioned earlier, because you said that Sophie mentioned some of these, we picked up on the Res Life. Do you know anything about that, and can you tell everyone watching a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Res Life is a fantastic support team that we have for students living in university managed accommodation. It is a peer-to-peer team, so students that are either in their later years of study or who have recently graduated and then taken on a role as a Res Life assistant. And I always say that they deliver 2 core services. So the first is that every evening from 6 p.m. till 12 a.m. they do a call-up service. So you can call them about anything. It could be the fact that maybe you're feeling a little bit homesick, or maybe you're struggling to meet your flatmates and you just want a little bit of support with it. Or maybe you're new to Lincoln and you'd like to go out exploring for the day, but you're not too sure where to go. They're there for anything that you might think of. Like Vicky said, a bit like a big brother or a big sister. And then the second half of the service that they do is that they run the Res Life Lounge. So the Res Life Lounge is located at the back of Signet Wharf, and it is open 5 days a week, and then also for a period on a Saturday afternoon. And there you can go and hang out with other students in university managed accommodation. They have pool tables, dartboards, board games, TVs, and then they also run loads of fantastic events throughout the year as well. So bingo, craft night, karaoke, as well as loads of different activities when you first arrive. So a really, really great sort of support network that's there, but also a really fun way to kind of introduce yourself to Lincoln when you do arrive. They are on social media, so all their details are live on screen now. Definitely encourage you to give them a follow and have a look. It'll get you really excited for joining Lincoln in September.
Fabulous. There's a really good question here from Lisa that says, I assume that we don't book accommodation if Lincoln is an insurance choice until after results day.
Yeah, so Lisa, we would recommend that if you have made Lincoln your insurance choice, that you do put in an application for your accommodation. The team won't do anything with it, so we will just hold this information. But it means that if the university does become your firm choice on results day, we will be able to pick it back up for you and hopefully get you allocated something nice and easy.
Fabulous. There's a question here that says, what is the buddy thing where you can go to talk to people before you go? So I'm assuming that they mean uni buddy.
Yes, so the buddy thing is UniBuddy. It's UniBuddy community, which we have just launched. And so it's a bit like a chat room, I suppose, where you can join lots of different chats, be it accommodation, a specific hall, a support team that's available at Lincoln, or something that is course specific or SU specific. And there are loads of different students who are all looking to join us in September on there at the minute. A lot of them are also kind of meeting each other and then going and making chats elsewhere. But it is a really, really fantastic way to either ask questions to staff about the university or just start getting to know other students joining us in September.
Fabulous. There's a question here from Kieran that says, as someone starting university at the age of 21, is accommodation allocated by age or is it mixed?
So for first year students, you would be allocated a room with another first year student, and then returning students, so your second and third years, are mixed. So as a first year, you would be allocated with other first years. However, don't be put off by that. We do see students starting in first year across all different age groups, so you hopefully won't feel too out of place.
Fabulous. Are there any rules regarding our stay there, e.g. noise levels and things like that?
Okay, so when you book your accommodation, you will see that there is a code of conduct, which is available to read. You kind of have to confirm that you've read it and you agree with it when you book the accommodation. We do ask that obviously you are respectful to your neighbours and to the people who also live in the Lincoln community, but more details on that and what we do and don't kind of accept are all listed on that code of conduct.
Fabulous. Michelle has asked, if we've already booked some accommodation, can we change our minds or change accommodations?
Yes, so you absolutely can at this early stage. What we would ask you to do is email into the accommodation team, just so we're aware of what you're doing. And then chances are they will probably ask you to cancel your current accommodation booking and then rebook the accommodation that you now want. As I said, please don't do this without contacting the team first, just in case your application is at a different stage or the accommodation that you're looking to book is actually quite close to being full.
Fabulous. Sky has asked, am I able to update things like whether I want a single gender accommodation after receiving an offer?
Yeah, so the same thing, Sky. If you can drop us an email to accommodation inbox, it's just accommodation@lincoln.ac.uk, but it should pop up on our screen at some point during this live. And yeah, just drop us an email. If you can reference your student ID number and also which accommodation you've booked, and then our team will do our best to update your application for you.
Fabulous. Penny has asked, who do we talk to if we're uncomfortable with a flatmate?
Okay, Penny, so this is a perfect example of where the Res Live team would come in. So they would usually be your first point of contact. You can talk to them, and then if they felt like they needed to signpost it to a different staff member, they will do so. Alternatively, if you're just passing by, you are more than welcome to come and speak to us in the accommodation reception, and we will probably signpost you to the Res Live team and other supporting teams.
Fabulous. Someone has asked, do we stay in the same accommodation throughout our whole course or do we change each year?
Okay, so that is entirely up to you. Signet Wharf is our only accommodation, which is first year only. So if you have booked to stay in St. Mark's and you really love it, you could book again for your second and third year. Alternatively, you might do St. Mark's 1 year, then decide you want to live in Valentine, then decide you want to live in Courts. It's kind of entirely up to you. Your actual room may change year on year if you did book the same accommodation, but it would depend on which block you've been allocated and how the allocations are working for that year.
Fabulous. Someone has asked, are people in the same courses roomed near each other?
So generally speaking, you want to assume that you will be mixed with different courses. There's a probability that you could end up living close by to someone in your course or even sharing an apartment with your course. But generally speaking, we allocate mixed. We don't look at courses and allocate that way.
Fabulous. Dasha has asked, are the accommodations for over 18s only, or does that include 18-year-olds as well?
It's 18 and over, so it's just under 18s that cannot live with us, and that's for insurance reasons.
Fabulous. Someone has asked here, are there any supermarkets and things like that close to campus?
Yes, so accommodation wise, we are really, really lucky with the location because it is so close to everything that you could possibly need. Lincoln is a city-based campus, so the main high street is a really short walk away. And we also have the Brayford Pool, which has got loads of restaurants, gyms, Odeon, other things that I can't think of on the spot, but it's a really great social place to be. We have about 3 different supermarkets which are directly opposite St. Mark's, Valentine Court, and then just a short walk away from more of the campus-based accommodations, and also 2 really big retail units which have things like B&M, Home Bargains, Asda Living for those day-to-day supplies that you may need.
Fabulous. So there's a question here that says, what happens if I don't like my room?
Okay, a great question, and something that is a thing that will probably cross a lot of people's mind at this stage. So once you have moved into the accommodation, if you decide that you don't really like your room, or maybe you've made friends with someone at a different site and you think, oh, I quite fancy the room that they've got actually, what you would need to do is come and see us in accommodation reception and ask for a room change. So you will be able to come back to us and say, look, I'm currently in St. Mark's. I actually think I'd really like a room in Signet Wharf. We will then put you onto a list, and if a room becomes available, we will get in touch with you and let you know. We can then take you over to view the room, and if you are happy with it, you agree to the change in price, if there is a change in price, and everything's all good to go, then we can move you over to that room, no problem. It's quite usual that we see that, especially in the first sort of 6 weeks.
Fabulous. Dasha has asked, are there facilities in the accommodation for washing or laundry, or do we have to go to a separate main laundry building?
Okay, so all of the accommodations have laundry facilities, but they are not in your apartment. They are specialist laundrettes on the actual campus, if that makes sense. So if we use St. Mark's as an example, there are 10 blocks here, so 10 apartment blocks, and there are 2 laundrette blocks which are on that complex. So you would need to kind of walk down to them, but they are in the complex. You're not having to walk to the nearest provider in town kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. There is a question here that says, if Lincoln is my insurance choice, am I still guaranteed a room if I end up going?
You are guaranteed an offer of a room if you apply before September 1st. So as a insurance choice, you would be applying for the university or accommodation probably through clearing, and if not, just automatically on results day. So as long as you process everything by September 1st, you are still guaranteed the offer.
Fabulous. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but for anyone who has joined since, do I need to move out of my room during the holidays?
No, so your room is yours for the full contract length. There is no pressure to move out at any of the holidays or until that end date.
Fabulous stuff. Is there any visitor parking in the accommodations?
Yes, so there is short stay parking at a number of our accommodations, and where there isn't short stay parking, there is plenty of private parking close by. The parking can only be used if it's on the campus. The accommodation car parking can only be used during office hours because you will need to register the car details with the team.
Fabulous. And then we've just got a couple of final questions. When is the deadline for applications for accommodation?
Okay, so you really want to be getting your accommodation application in as soon as you know that the university is your firm or insurance choice on UCAS. If it's under the guarantee of a room offer, it needs to be in by September 1st. The first payment comes out around October time, and the move-in period is middle of September. So realistically, you don't want to be putting your application in September just because it's getting a little bit too close to the line. But if it is a last-minute decision, there may be accommodation available. But if you know you're coming to Lincoln or you know it's your insurance choice, please just get that application in as soon as you can.
Fabulous. Is there accessible accommodation available?
Yeah, another great question. So all of our accommodation has an accessible room or accessible rooms, and each of those are slightly different. So they have different equipment and different, they're adapted in different ways so that we can make sure we've got accommodation to suit a range of needs. If you do require an accessible room, we just ask you to identify it on your application, and then a member of our team or the wellbeing team will get in touch with you to figure out which is the best accommodation for you.
Fabulous stuff. So we're coming to the end of our live lounge session. So obviously, if you have any more specific questions, you can email accommodation@lincoln.ac.uk, or if it's a more general inquiry about coming to university in September, you can email inquiries@lincoln.ac.uk. But thank you everyone so much for watching this. I hope that you've got loads of really good information, but like I said, if you've got any more questions or any more information, the best place to go is the university website or to email one of those email addresses. So I want to say thank you so much to Harriet for answering everybody's questions, and thank you to everyone at home for watching. So we are going to wrap it up there, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.